Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is a Pro Stock CCM HGJS, which means Hand Glove Jet Speed glove that is available at Just Hockey. This is an interesting spec glove, amazing colors. That was for the All-star game. Like, look at these are fantastic. And I am going to do a quick snapshot review on these, go over the features, kind of show what makes them unique, what makes them really awesome, and kind of compare them a little bit to the pair that I have, which is this one right here. These are actually quite different gloves when you look at them side by side and really compare them. The whole shape and everything is the same, but the weight's different, palms are different, and we'll look at the protection package as well. So you can get this glove at Just Hockey. The links of it are in the comments and in the description. Help support the channel as well as support them. That way I can keep making content and doing more videos kind of like this and doing full reviews with their demo gear and other equipment. Also, full disclosure, there is always a thing with Pro Stock gloves and gear in general, like sticks, and I talk about a lot, where generally speaking, you can get gear for cheaper. I bought these for relatively cheap, but they're used, and you can see kind of the use on them right there, but they weren't crazy cheap for being a used glove. Now, these ones, just full disclosure, because people will make a comment on it, aren't really that cheap. The price is in the link below in the description. You can see what they're selling for there. While these gloves themselves are not cheap, this is a pretty unique colorway and an amazing spec of glove, and it's in Canada as well, so if you're in the US, you get some exchange rate deals there. This thing isn't just a regular ordinary Pro Stock glove like this one, and even then, this is a unique colorway too, so these ones end up going for a bit more anyways. Before we jump into this, let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite Pro Stock gloves that you've ever worn, and what is your favorite spec when you look for a glove? Do you like thin palms? Do you like more protection and thicker materials, or do you specifically go for colors? Leave a comment below, let me know. If you have any suggestions of what gloves I should check out, let me know below as well too. Interesting thing about CCM gloves for Pro Stock is they don't really do their new models every single year in the NHL. Sometimes it happens in overseas leagues, but generally speaking, the NHL is kind of a bit different with that. Same with the AHL. This is their newest Jet Speed one, which is the FD6 Pro. I haven't seen these really in Pro Stock form at all. The ones that I have kind of seen are basically retail gloves with unique colorways for pro teams in kind of Europe. A lot of the time, CCM keeps the same model going over and over and over. This isn't basically an FT1 glove. We're on the 6 now. They did FT1, FT4, and then FT6. So this is obviously a few generations old, but CCM is really good with Pro Stock gloves, to be totally honest, and they're a fantastic build, and they kind of do a unique sizing as well, where they fit like ½ inch longer than they're advertised, so a 14. We'll do the 3D hand test to kind of show that off in a second as well, but that is how majority of their gloves fit. But CCM doesn't update their gloves every single year, so while this is an older model glove, this is still the glove that players are getting all the time now. Like Ovechkin uses this when he moved over from Bauer, still uses it. Matthews uses it. Players, one, probably aren't requesting new stuff like this, but two, when it's so good like this, why do you really change? Because this is an absolutely fantastic glove. But CCM also keeps making the 11Ks for people, and 11Ks are really good. And they also make 10Ks for Perron and Crosby. So those gloves are also solid, and you don't really need to update them all the time. So when you see something like this, which is like an HGJS, yes, it's an old model and not really new like this one, but it's so good, and the changes of them are so incremental that it doesn't really make a difference. The air tech on here is really nice for airflow. Not having that isn't a make or break, and this glove and foam package on it is so good that there's really no need to update it. So obviously for color on here, I hate white gloves, but when they do colors like this was for the Tampa Bay All-Star game, so obviously you kind of have that Miami Vice colors with the teal, the black. I would have loved this to be pink, but I mean, that's a lot. And white design. I don't love white. I think this would have been cooler if it had some teal fingers or something on there, but this overall colorway is fantastic and looks absolutely amazing. NHL killed it for this All-Star game for the colors and for the jerseys and everything, but this glove looks really good, and like, these are kind of sought after because of this awesome colorway and unique colorway. So for the specs on this, you can see the backhand for all the breaks and everything, and the dexterity on it is pretty solid. You can see right here, this isn't broken in at all. Finger touches thumb pretty easily, but this thing hasn't been broken in whatsoever and is still pretty stiff. And with this foam package, which we'll get to in a second, you really kind of do have to break these in a bit more. The thumb itself has a 2-piece thumb, and it flexes like that, so not a ton. It can flex more, but you gotta, again, break that in more and really move it, but it works totally fine, and it's not restrictive at all. Like I mentioned, you can touch your pinky fine, and it works good there. The fingers, you have 3-piece index finger, and that is it. 2 pieces all the way around. So you also have foam on the sides of here, as well as plastic inserts. This doesn't feel like D3O. It feels more like their Zote foam. You can see how soft that one is. This one actually does feel like it's a bit thicker than what this one is, but over here it definitely does feel softer than what the D3O is and the rest of the foam packages, so kind of surprising that they did that for that. Now for that foam package, this has D3O on the side, as you can see, and it does have D3O in there, and when you squeeze this, you can see how hard it is to squeeze, because that is well, at least it feels like a full D3O foam package. So previously, CCM had kind of two models. They would have XP ones, which meant a full D3O foam package in here, or even harder foams. Other times it would just be a normal glove and it wouldn't have a full D3O. It would only have like kind of a retail one, which is just at the top. So it had a softer density D3O and then the plastic insert. For this, it is so hard to push this in. I'm pretty sure this is D3O all the way around. It doesn't really feel like it's a triple density foam. It just feels like one thick piece of D3O, which is totally fine because D3O is an excellent foam itself. And you can't even see any orange through it, which is surprising because before some of their gloves, you could see the orange right through it, but it's so dense and extremely protective. Now here is where it's kind of interesting because this glove also says D3O, but this glove is a lot lighter than this glove is. I mean, this glove isn't heavy, but when you pick up this glove and you put this one on, you're like, wow, that's really light. I've had people ask me over and over again of what socks I always recommend, and I've been using Cut Shield for a while now. I have multiple stuff from them. So Cut Shield is a company out of Canada that makes cut resistant socks, and these are their Pro Air 6, which means it's an ANSI level 6 for cut resistance on here. Full review of it up there so you can check it out. But I now have a coupon code with Cut Shield, so if you want to support the channel, you can check out the link in the description to Cut Shield, buy some socks, which I think are honestly one of the better socks on the market. I absolutely love them. They're pretty thin and they are cut resistant and they're not too hot either. Use my coupon code, you get 25% off and it helps support the channel. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel and you don't want to buy anything hockey related, you can check out the links in the description to buy me a coffee. Anything that goes through any of the links always comes back into my channel so I can make more content and do more videos. Because the foam in here is not full D3O. So you can see how much more I can squeeze this. Really, the D3O is just this top layer. So this is a more stock, basically jet speed FT1 foam package, which had like a Zote foam and then a D3O kind of top layer for their like 3 density piece on here. So you have plastic, a little piece of D3O, and then a Zote foam underneath. And that is kind of the whole glove on here. Like you can just see how much softer like this is on there compared to what's here, which is extremely dense. So I'm pretty sure this is the full D3O package, where pro stock gloves like this are more of that retail one, which is still a good overall package. It's just not as good as what this one is for protection. For the cuff itself, you have kind of a normal foam here. It's not super stiff or anything. And then a plastic insert to really help with that protection. And hitting that does a really good job of not transferring that in, because even though this does have a flex cuff, a lot of it hits kind of in here, which is a really thick foam. It doesn't feel like D3O at all because it's definitely feels softer than it, but it might have a dual density layer, so a more dense top foam maybe. But anyways, that does a really good job of not transferring that into your actual wrist, because it hits this and it is done really well. Over here, it's not as good because you can see that flex cuff kind of opens up right there a bit, and you can definitely feel that in there. Now that flex cuff also kind of works. It's not like a full flex cuff, but you can see it definitely moving in with there and kind of coming with you because of that spandex. And while I would prefer companies like this as well to put this liner above the actual spandex so the whole thing moves so you have even more protection, they don't, and this is how it is, but still an excellent glove for protection and really solid overall. And since we are talking a bit of flexibility and dexterity, this glove is not broken in at all, and you can really see that with right here. You can see this piece right here not kind of flexing down at all and leaving a bit of a gap because these are not broken in yet. So you can see how that kind of looks there. When you get to this glove, which is more broken in, you can see how that bottom kind of block moves more with the fingers compared to what's over here. You can see that difference right there. So that is kind of where these gloves are not broken in yet and can be broken in a lot more. So while this is a bit stiffer and looking a bit stiffer, this thing can definitely be broken in more. So it will definitely follow the contours of your hand and how your hand closes, just like this one does, because you can really see how much better that closes and is easier to close and move, just because this glove is a lot more broken in than what the new ones are. So continuing on the fingers, you do have that spandex gusset right here. You can see my finger coming through it, so it allows that stretch and comfort as well. This isn't a really thick spandex, so it does breathe pretty good too. You can see my skin coming through it, so it does allow air to go through it. And they do have nash tips, so your fingers won't blast through the ends. This is still really short though. I mentioned this on the True gloves I saw recently. I would prefer that nash to come a little longer, just so your fingers can't go quite as far past if you do have that thing, just because that spandex is helping it stretch a bit. So if you put it back here, just gives you a bit more kind of rigidity in that nash, so it doesn't allow it to go all the way through. But interesting palm on here. It's called their Pro Feel. It's this gray nash. It feels fantastic. It also feels pretty thin as well. Now, interesting thing about this, you can see this seam right here. There is no double layer. So this is all single layer palm, and the thumb is also single layer. So you can see that as well. When we look at the AHL ones, you can see that has that extra layer right here. Still has that pro feel right there, but has that extra layer right here for the palm and the extra layer on the thumb. And you look on the inside, you can see that single seam point right there on the bottom. That's going to be the same on this one as well, but you can see how they did it slightly differently, just so that seam isn't really touching your hand, and because it isn't over multiple layers, so you do have a single layer, really thin palm all the way through. So this spec is very awesome on these and feels very nice. Since we're talking about this palm, and we'll try the 3D hand test on here, and I can say you can feel everything. Every piece of your hand, you can feel the dimples and the grip on this palm. So even on the palm right here, usually with double layer, you can't really feel the texture on the stick that much. You can really usually feel on the fingers, not so much on the thumb because it does usually have that double layer. For this, your whole hand can feel where the texture is on this, and it feels absolutely fantastic. This is a really thin palm. It's super comfortable and super soft to use, as well as the grip on it feels great to be able to feel that texture and feel the stick. So puck feel in this is going to be unbelievable. Now for the actual grip itself, it isn't too grippy, but you can see it is still pretty grippy enough. It's not a digital or anything, but it's pretty solid all around, and it feels really good. Now if you had a non-grippy stick like a True that doesn't really have a lot of grip on there, you might have some issues with this being a bit slippery, but for an actual solid grip stick like this, it feels really good and it feels absolutely solid. This is one of the nicest feeling palms, especially for that thinness on there. It really transfers into the stick and it feels fantastic. So for fit on this, this is a 14-inch glove. As you can see right down there, 14, and this is a 14-inch retail glove. So when you put these on, my fingers are just touching the ends, like kind of coming past, but not a lot. And when I put the 14 retail, you can see the difference on these. So these definitely fit half a size bigger than they're labeled. Both of these are 14s. Look at how far that finger's coming out and how little that one is coming out. So we're going to do the 3D hand test just to be totally consistent on this. So we have the blue and yellow 15-inch like palm in here, and we have that red and yellow 14-inch in here. So for the 15-inch palm, you can see the tips are kind of just right there at the end, especially on the index finger, but not blasting through it. So like I mentioned, this fits like kind of a 15. It's a 14.5 basically for CCM. And it goes right there. Again, not blasting through it, but a solid fit overall and probably the right one. This one's a little bit out there, but not bad. And again, this is pretty much a 14.5 glove. When we go to that 14-inch hand, you can see you have all that space where the actual fingers end up. So it doesn't go to the end, and you can cut them off kind of right there and right there as well. So 14-inch glove definitely fits bigger than what it's labeled as compared to the retail counterparts. And I'd always recommend kind of sizing half up on your gloves if that's what you're looking for. So check that retail one out, like the Jet Speed line. If it fits good at 14, probably go to a 13. It might be a little snug for length, but it'll probably be better than if you went just a 14 because these are going to feel a bit big. So for fit and snugness on this glove, so this is their anatomical fit. It kind of follows your hand and it's supposed to be the tighter fitting glove, which it is. But I want to call one thing out. Both of these gloves are the same kind of model, but this glove feels a lot more loose when broken in. Obviously, yes, when gloves break in, they become more loose, but just to show a difference on these, you can see how much more open this one is now. It also might have to do with the person who wore these before me. Obviously, it wasn't me. They were using the AHL, but that is a lot looser than what this one is, where you really have to kind of bring it off. For these gloves, as is right now, they do fit pretty like anatomical and pretty tight overall. Fingers aren't crazy tight. They're not like super snug or anything in there, but it feels snug all the way up through here. And even the cuff part right here feels pretty good. And then it obviously blooms open and feels pretty good. I mean, it feels pretty tight overall. And like I mentioned, you kind of have to shake this one off, but this is the tighter fitting glove. And to compare it to the retail, but again, these fit a little different because the retail ones are like actual 14. It fits slightly looser than that retail one, but again, the sizing on these are slightly different because this one ends up like a 14.5. So that's about it for this video. Huge thanks to Just Hockey for sending these to me so I can make content on and check them out. I love seeing pro stock gloves in different specs. I already have a pair of these, but very clearly these are very different gloves compared to each other. And there's a reason a ton of NHL players keep wearing these gloves, even if they aren't CCM athletes, they just choose them. And there's a reason a ton of teams keep them in for team stock for new players. They are sponsored in the AHL, so all AHL teams have to use CCM gloves. Same with the OHL, WHL, and Q. But at the same time, these gloves are a fantastic model, and the specs on these are fantastic with D3O through the fingers. Excellent palm. So definitely check these out and take a look. Links are in the description and in the comments for these. Helps support the channel as well as helps just hockey, so I can keep making more content like this. So thank you very much for watching this video. Subscribe to me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, links are in the description. If you want to support the channel and you're looking to buy anything hockey related or even just accessories and not hockey related like Yeti products, check out the link in the description to Just Hockey. You can do that from Canada or the US. Clicking that link, making a purchase gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I can make more content like this and doing more actual reviews. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel, check out the links in the description to Patreon and buy me a coffee. Everything through any of those links always comes back into the channel so I can keep making more content and doing more videos. Thank you very much for watching and take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.